Welcome to Learning Life Skills Together. This is our weekly community Zoom meeting where our guests help us to go deeper into the 4 life skills and open up a huge array of chances to practice them. Hello, everyone. This is Learning Life Skills Together weekly Zoom meeting number 88, and I am here with Christina Gamez of Health and Healing with Christina. Christina's a master's prepared nurse, a nurse coach, a healing touch practitioner, and a mindfulness instructor. So she has worked a lot with the kinds of things that we are developing as our 4 skills. And before we get into all that, as always, we start with practice. And I would like to invite Christina now to guide us into maybe a little more quiet, a little more calm, so that we're ready to listen.
Thank you so much. That sounds great, Dr. McCown. Let us start with an awareness practice. I love that idea. So, if you can, just start to settle in. Just start to feel the chair beneath you, wherever you are. Feel your feet on the floor. Just begin to bring your awareness to your breath, just noticing your breath. It's the anchor to this beautiful current moment. Just notice how it feels going in and going out with ease, with intention, mindfully paying attention. What is the temperature of the breath as it goes in the nose? Notice any differences as it goes out of your nose. Just notice in this moment any areas where you might be holding on to any tension. Just see if you can relax into the moment, just even 2% more. Just noticing the muscles of your face, finding space between your teeth, just noticing your tongue and your mouth. Just notice your neck. Maybe you need to move it just to release anything you might be holding on to. Notice your shoulders and your arms. Just noticing any sensations or feelings, emotions, thoughts that come up. Just being mindful and present. Noticing your chest rising and falling with each breath. Notice your belly, your hips, your legs. Noticing your feet. Maybe even all 10 toes just connected to the floor beneath you. Feel your socks or your shoes or your bare feet. What a gift to pay attention to yourself and how you feel in this moment. And when you're ready, just take a big, deep, intentional breath in. Fill your lungs with air and let it all out. Just come back to this space, focused and present. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I really enjoyed that.
Okay.
How did
Well,
you feel?
on behalf of the people listening at various times and in various places, I will say that one of the things that struck me was finding space between your teeth,
Mm,
because I realized that my jaw was clenched a little bit, and when I let that go, kind of other things let go too.
yeah.
Was really intriguing how that works. Those muscles right up there are like a signal, I think, for the rest of the body. It's okay. You're gonna be
Hmm.
all right.
Yes.
In this moment, you'll be all right.
It's amazing when we pay attention to our body, we don't even notice our body is doing something.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So, and this is why we ask people in learning life skills together to check in and see what's going on with the body,
mm,
with the mind. Yeah, absolutely. So, uh, we have met once and hit it off and found that we had a lot of stuff to talk about. And so I'd like you to share for just a minute kind of how you got into these kinds of things that are so close to and sometimes exactly our four skills.
yes, thank you so much. Yes. Well, as you said, I've been a nurse since early 2000s, and I actually got into the emergency medicine first. I was all about taking care of the emergencies. I did trauma. I was in the military for many years, and I really had the mindset of just go, 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 save everyone, do everything I can, lots of energy. I was going to do that forever. That was my career
Yeah,
path. And
sounds like a nurse.
yeah. Yes, yes. And unfortunately, in 2011, I had um, my second child was born with a congenital heart anomaly and passed away at 5.5 months old. So I had a 21-month-old son at home, and my son had just passed, and I was working. I was in the military. Also had a civilian job, and everything just changed so drastically, and I didn't really know what to do except just keep going and
Mm,
just kind of, um, you know, go back to work, do everything that I possibly could, make it look like I was okay. Um, I always felt worse when people were sad around me because I was sad. And so I really masked and for many years just started to become very angry. And after a while, my anger started to turn into physical symptoms. And so I had cardiac problems and GI issues, and I had to see specialists. I was in my early 30s and seeing all these doctors for all of these physical symptoms that I was experiencing. And none of the tests were showing any issues. The doctors were saying there was no issues, everything was structurally sound. All of the tests came back, and I just got so frustrated with with really just coming up empty and not really understanding why I was having all of these physical symptoms. And at one point, one of my therapists recommended that I just sit with an imaginary box every day. And so I like to tell my clients, and I like to tell a lot of people about this idea of sitting with the imaginary box, setting a timer where I control the time of day, I control the amount of time that I'm sitting there, and in a safe space that I've chosen, open the imaginary box and essentially just letting out the emotions that I have at the moment. And at first, it was very uncomfortable. There were some days that I just cried and cried, some days where I was just really so angry, screaming in a pillow. Maybe I would pace, or maybe I would write or scribble or um, do whatever it was that I felt like I needed to do at the time. But I felt like I came out of that session just kind of a little bit more able to carry out the day. And
mm,
after a while of practicing this consistently, I was able to start sleeping through the night. My panic attacks started getting further in between. I was able to wean off medications, and I was just so fascinated at why that worked so well for me. And so I started really looking at what it was that I was doing, and really, it was that mindful practice that I was doing every single day. I was in charge of the time, the length of time that I spent, the time of day, the location, and I felt like that gave me so much more control of my emotions after that time going
Mm.
about the world. And so, so just looking at the evidence and looking at the research behind mindfulness-based interventions, I really got excited about it, and I started sharing the philosophy and the concept with others.
Yeah, yeah. This idea of knowing what's going on, check it, deliberately checking to see how you are, what's happening, what's in your mind and body. Yeah. And so we sort of do that miniature version of that in our check-ins that we do, then that we sort of talk about as something that's valuable throughout the day.
Hmm.
Just to stop, right? You choose the moment, stop, check into your body, what's happening there, check into your mind,
Yeah.
what's happening there. And
Yes.
then you got a little more clarity, as you're saying, and you were getting a lot more clarity because there was a lot you were dealing with and a lot you were seeing. But
Hmm.
uh,
And the thing that I think is so important about a mindfulness practice is really just being the observer, watching it with compassion, without judgment. I often like to tell people to imagine that you're sitting on a park bench and you're looking up at the clouds in the sky. And when you look at the clouds in the sky, you have no judgment, you have no attachment. They just are, they're just there. You would never look at a cloud in the sky and be angry with it for being there, or be frustrated because it was a certain size or shape or color. It
yeah,
just is. And so
yeah.
if we come to our mindfulness practice with that concept, where you're just sitting on the park bench, you're observing without the attachment, it just is without trying to fix it or change it. Wow, your body really responds so beautifully to that to be accepted, to be noticed. We all want to be noticed, right? Everyone wants to be
Mhm.
noticed.
Yeah.
And so it's so important to notice your body, your emotions, your experiences without frustration, without trying to fix or change, and to realize that you're not broken. You're just having this human experience that can be so big and grand. Sometimes we really have trouble with understanding and processing it. So mindfulness really does help.
Yeah. And so, all of our attention practices are framed in that way. It's that this is the way it is right now. And here it is. We don't need to judge it. We don't need to change it. We don't need to push it away or pull it towards us, right? We don't need to do any of those things. And so those are really helpful to get us understanding how we are, right? And that's kind of what we're after with our first skill of attention as we talk about it. And
Mhm.
so our next skill might be of interest to you too, which is regulating our emotions, coming back into balance when we
Mhm.
notice that we're not in
Mhm.
balance. So the noticing, the whole attention thing has to happen
First.
for us to be able to do this next thing. So any any experiences with that? Any thoughts about that?
Oh my gosh, I love that this is um, such an important, your second life skill that you teach, regulating your emotions. So I recently read this wonderful book by Dr. Bruce Perry and Oprah Winfrey. They wrote it together. It's called What Happened to You? And it really is about reducing the stigma of saying what's wrong with you or what's wrong with them, because maybe they did something that you wouldn't have done in that moment. and really thinking about what happened to them. And it talks about the neuroscience of how we perceive messages and how we register information and how information comes in through the base of our stem and it goes through our emotion center, the middle of our brain, emotion center, before it goes into the higher brain processes where we have logical thought and where we can make important decisions and all of that. And so you always have an emotion before you make a rational thought. Just the way the brain signal comes in,
Mhm.
it's the way
Yeah.
messages come in, and so so you might somebody might say something, and no matter what they meant, you most often will receive an emotion first. And so it's really, really important for you to have that pause, that mindful pause to think about, is that something that they really meant the way I feel right now? Did they mean to make me feel this way? And in order for me to have more control of the situation, which so often we feel out of control, but in order for me to have more control of the situation, I need to have that pause to notice that emotion so that I can choose how I react. And so regulating that emotional response is so important. If you notice that your heart is racing faster, you notice that you're taking shallow breaths, your body is having a stress response. And so, again, to notice first, and then realize, you know what? I need to regulate my emotion first by just taking that breath, recentering. It's always the anchor. Breathing is an autonomic nervous system function. And so when we breathe in intentionally, it kind of turns on that sympathetic response. Our heart rate increases a little bit. And when we take that mindful, intentional breath out, it's a parasympathetic response that's a natural emotional regulator. And so often throughout the day, we're breathing in, oh no, we have a stress. Oh no, what about that? I fear this. Shallow breathing all day long. And so if we take that intentional breath out, it signals to our body that we're safe. We can regulate our nervous system, and then we can choose how to respond. I actually have a teen driver right now, and so before he gets behind the wheel, we always do system regulation. We
Hmm.
always do that purposeful breath in and
That's
then the elongated breath out.
that's a great moment to be doing that. And so we
Both
we
of us.
we refer to those kinds of breaths as the relaxing sigh. That's
Mm,
how they are in our program, and we
beautiful.
recommend them for all kinds of things. And getting in the car with your to be driver is quite a moment. Yeah.
Yes, it helps both of us for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And really when you regulate the nervous system, you're able to make better decisions. You're able to process the world so much more clear. Your judgment is better and more clear. And so of course, we want all of our drivers doing that before they start driving.
Yes. And in your particular situation, hang on for just a second as I try to pull this apart. But what we try to get people to do with the kids is to do it together. Let's take a deeper breath in and let it out long, maybe sigh out loud, even so that we really feel it going. And so I'm seeing, mom here, child here, getting behind the wheel, maybe for the first time or something, and like, let's both take a deep breath because we both really need this, and we both need to keep our minds clear, right? So it's not just the
100%.
driver who has to be clear, it's the person who could be responding by slamming their brake, which they don't have. So
Yeah,
so that idea of, being together in that emotional regulation is,
yeah.
is like so important because
It's
we reinforce each other too.
mission critical. And I find too that I am less reactive too. Like instead of grabbing the door or the seat, I can say, okay, we're braking,
Yeah,
much,
totally. Yeah.
much more calm because like me reacting in the car would
Yeah.
trigger my son or would trigger anybody really,
Yeah.
A,
Yeah.
a stress response that's physical that you can see would really trigger just about anybody. So
Yeah.
practicing together is has just been so instrumental.
Yeah. Terrific.
Yeah, and I noticed too, when I started first studying healing touch, energy therapy, which is it's really just a heart-centered intention of helping somebody else get into a state of relaxation.
Yeah.
And when you're
Yeah.
in relaxation, when your body is in parasympathetic state, it's so smart. Your body is so intelligent. It naturally knows how to heal. And so the more we can be in that state to allow our body to just go back into a state of homeostasis, heal from experiences, heal from, toxins from the environment, foods that we eat, stress from the world. When we go into that, it just helps everything. So I started really practicing at home with my kids, and we would do it together. And it just made bedtime routine so much smoother. I didn't have to stay in the room for as long. Practicing gratitude together. What is it that you are so grateful for that happened today? And then I'll share what I'm so grateful for that happened today. And just practicing together, it changed the dynamic in the household.
Absolutely. And that's what we're sort of encouraging constantly because we do co-regulate each other, as we say in learning life skills. When I'm calmer, it's more possible for you to be calmer. And when you become calmer, then I can relax about my trying to be calm, right? So it just spins and spins, and we can drop into a place like you say, where the kid can go to sleep
Yes, exactly.
faster.
And sleep, oh my gosh, so much happens to your body when you have a restful night's sleep and then you wake up differently. It really just changes everything.
Yeah. So that's a really great one to
Mm,
to be thinking about is that mother and child in the car with the
yeah.
child driving, like what is that about? And we're co-regulating each other
Mm.
to get ready for that and to continue it too. Because as you say, you're in the place where you can say, now we need to be braking here.
Yes.
Rather than going,
Right. Exactly.
everybody goes right out the window, right? Every emotion comes flying out. So
Yes.
yeah,
If
that's
there's one takeaway from this podcast today, I would love it if it was that one.
yeah. No, it's a great image, I think, for people to carry in their minds. So next skill is getting through tough times,
Mm-hmm.
tolerating distress. Because, as our kids get older, the problems get not only larger, but of longer duration. And so they have to live through that thing. They have to, you come home, that's the problem. I can't do anything until tomorrow. How do I get through that time period?
Yeah.
That's when things can go really haywire because I don't have any skills. I don't have any ways of working with this.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so It's a big one for us.
It's such a big one, and it's so important because when you're growing up, everything is the biggest thing that's ever happened to you.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah,
Everything.
truly, it is.
Yeah. And we have to understand that perspective as parents, and validate that their experience is really something big. And even if you might not think it compared to maybe your experiences, but validating your children's experiences helps them process that. And the biggest thing, I told you a little bit of my story, getting through challenging times. After my son passed away, there was a series of family deaths. My father passed, my father-in-law, I had a young cousin. Um, it just kept coming. And it was just so much that I truly was wondering how to get through that
To get through it.
all.
Yeah.
And like I said, I just basically had a breaking point and was like, I need to do something different in order to get a different result. And it's not about, you can't just go to somebody to fix you. Number one, you're not broken. Number two, nobody is going to fix you. People can suggest based on the research and the literature, how to take care of a problem or symptom, but all healing is self-healing. And so I felt in my state that my healing needed to come from me. I needed to take the steps. And that's the case with everyone. Once you notice that there's a shift, that there's something happening, and you can practice the tools of emotional regulation when it comes to very stressful times, then you already have those tools in your tool belt. And the number one thing in order to continue through, persevere through, is that consistency. Consistency in taking care of yourself. And maybe, sitting with an imaginary box every day isn't the way that you or that your body responds to taking care of itself. So pausing to pay attention, what is it that I need right now? Maybe you just need to go outside and breathe the fresh air, watch the leaves blowing in the wind. Maybe you need to walk. Some people really enjoy running or other types of exercise. Um,
Yeah.
another thing that really, really helps stressful times is bringing in things that bring you joy. And it's so hard when there's so much negativity or when things are so stressful, it's hard to even think of what possibly could bring you joy. But, maybe you had a hobby in the past or something that you really enjoyed doing. Maybe it's coloring, when you were 7. If that's okay. Maybe you're 60 years old. Maybe you still coloring is still really relaxing, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And or doing a puzzle or petting your cat or, whatever it is that brings you joy, bring that into the day. Being around people that bring you energy and putting boundaries around things that drain your energy, so that you can restore and rest, having that restful night's sleep, or even just resting by just sitting and not doing anything. I think these days people just reach for their phone or turn on a TV, or they're just constantly having to do something, and that's really, not the best. Sometimes your mind needs a break too.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that framing of do something that brings you joy. I mean, the way that we talk about this whole process is to say, well, what we don't want to do is run away. We have to look at it. We have to, be calm and see what our problem is And if we can't solve it then what do we do? So we don't like how our body feels.
Yes, it's uncomfortable.
Right?
It
And
is
so we
uncomfortable.
want to change that. And so we have ways that we've already learned because we talked about the emotion regulation part that, yeah, we can change how our body feels a little bit and it can help us settle. And then we can do something, as you're saying, that brings us joy. One of those things that I look at joy as something that's actually, it's not happiness because that's about me. Joy is bigger. It's it takes me out of myself a
Yes,
little while,
truly.
So we want to find those things that take us out of ourselves. And sometimes it's the joy of just, I know I have to go to work and I have to do this thing that I know how to do really well, and that's my work. And so I do it. And I'm clear for those hours or moments, And so it's the same thing as you're saying with the hobby, painting or playing a musical instrument or going out into the woods or walking along the creek. I'm being very Chester County here,
We're so
but
lucky.
or go and stand by the ocean, take a drive for a long time and do that, to get yourself out of yourself for that moment in a way that is helpful and healthful. We have lots of other ways of
Yeah.
getting ourselves out of ourselves, and they just end up causing problems. And so we want our kids to learn that we have ways that really work,
Mm.
that are good
And-
for us, to love another person. It's a chancy thing, but
yeah.
but to
Yeah.
do that, to give our love out, to get out of ourselves.
You said something that's so important. Our kids are watching us go through life and experience stress. And so, a lot of times we try to protect our children from really knowing what's going on, and that's okay. They don't need to know the details and the heaviness of some of the things that we experience. However, if your child asks you, "Are you okay? You don't seem okay." And you say, "I'm okay. I'm okay," and you're not, then they start to doubt their ability to sense that.
Yeah.
And so again, validating, you know what? Mommy's having a tough day right now. Or yes, you're right. Thank you for noticing that. I'm feeling kind of sad today because this happened or I just have really a lot to do and so I just need 5 minutes. If you can just give me 5 minutes so that I can feel better because I'm not feeling well right now. I would appreciate it. Thank you for noticing. I think it's important to validate them noticing and then they're learning. Oh, okay, when mom gets stressed,
Yeah.
she takes 5 minutes. Then when I get stressed, I can take 5 minutes. Or whatever it is that when mom is stressed, oh, we do puzzles together and it feels better when we're together doing puzzles or maybe I'm teaching my child, how to woodwork because that's something I used to do in high school and now he's in high school and we're, just examples of how you can bring them in to get through those times.
Yeah, and help them to find those things that help them. I mean, the things that we do or have done may work for them because we raised them,
Yeah.
but also it may not.
And it may not,
And
and that's
so to
okay.
make sure that they're being exposed to all kinds of, I'll be sort of broad with it, all kinds of healthy ways of getting out of ourselves a little bit
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
not feeling like we're carrying everything all the time.
Yes, and I think it's very healthy to verbalize how you're feeling. One, it helps you understand what it is you're feeling, and two, it helps others understand what it is you're feeling so they can support you in that. I think,
Uh,
unfortunately with our society, or at least the way I was brought up, it's like make it look like you have it together. Like get yourself together and, everybody gets all dressed up and they go out for, a family outing and everything is perfect. And then you come in the house and it's like chaos and craziness. And it's
Hmm.
like, oh, it's like this keeping up with the Joneses toxic mindset. Whereas if we're just authentic and say, you know what, I'm going through a hard time because, work is really stressful or whatever, and it just makes you more human, and then other people can be more human around you as well.
Yeah, yeah. And so this human relationship kind of thing brings me to my fourth of our four skills, which is the skill of um, effective communication,
I
right?
love it.
How is it that we can make ourselves clear
Hmm.
to the other about what's going on with us and what we need?
Hmm.
So, like the very first thing that we talk about in our teaching module around that is the word help
Mm.
and how almost magical that is. If we ask people for help, it's hard for them not to help us. You know? So for a kid to understand that you say, "Can you help me?" and say what you need, it's going to happen. It's magic there. Likewise, I think if a parent should dare to say, "Kids, I need your help right now," they've got that little bit inside them about, yeah, we always help. That's what we do. We're people. We help other people. It's kind of built in,
I
kind of
couldn't.
built in
Yeah.
or socialized in or whatever, but it's hard to say no to somebody who says, "Can you help me?"
Mm.
And a stranger on the street is, "Can you help me?" You're like, if it looks dicey, you'll walk by, but you feel it. You feel like, maybe I should. Yeah, there's part of me that really wants to help, you know? So just that, just thinking of each other as being ones who can help.
Indeed, I think the hardest part there is the asking for help. I've,
Exactly.
I've I
It's
think
no, it's knowing
most
that it will work.
most
That's
people
usually,
have trouble because
yeah,
it's like showing
yeah,
um you a little bit of rawness and people don't like to show maybe it's perceived as a weakness or something like that. But but I've found that as I practice, again with the practice, asking for help, um, wow, it just feels so much better. They always say, lots of hands make light work.
right.
Right. But here we are trying to like make it all work ourselves. And so we've
Yeah,
got this like the swan appearance that everything's calm on top of the water.
right.
And then
Yeah.
underneath you're like,
They're
"Oh, you
stirring up
know,
the mud.
I can do it. I can do it." But if
Yeah,
only you just ask, you know what, can you carry this bag? Or can I just ask you to just send that email for me? Or asking a child, hey, can you help me with the groceries? Um, it's amazing how that connection, that humanness really takes a lot of weight off the shoulders. And it's not like you're going to be perceived as some needy person. Of course, if you're, always asking for help for there's of course
yeah,
there's an extreme
yeah, totally.
version,
And
but
here's the thing of it, the activity that we connect to this whole effective communication thing, which is a lot more than just asking for
yeah,
help. But it comes into play here because it's belonging.
yes,
So when you know that you belong, when you know that you're a part of, these relationships that are going on, you're not so much, "Oh, I better not let anybody know how I am right now."
right.
It's like, no, you're part of this and you count and you matter. You know,
You matter.
we're great at saying that. We're great at putting up signs that say you matter. But actually showing that to each other, that's another step that our society needs to make.
Together. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Beautiful skills. So, so rich, all the conversation, all of these, I could talk for hours on each of these
We
points.
definitely could, and I think we better pull ourselves together and see if we can come up with an ending for this. So our usual ending is that I'm going to ask you if you have a word of wisdom or even a watchword, just one word for us that sort of encapsulates what we've been after today.
Wow. Well, the one thing that really comes to mind most is really how important it is to take care of yourself, to notice how you're feeling, to feed your body what it needs, body, mind, and soul. And so I love the phrase, heal yourself, heal the world, because when
Mm,
we start with ourselves first, we just have so much more energy for others.
yeah,
It's so powerful. So first start with self.
perfect. It starts with that noticing how we are, and it goes all the way over to belonging. And so that's what we covered. Everything. There you go. Heal
Wonderful.
yourself, heal the world. Thank you so much, Christina. This was a very enjoyable conversation.
It was.
I
Thank you,
hope,
Dr.
I hope
McCown.